Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Epic Heroes University. Tonight's topic will be more along the lines of recess. We're going to discuss some tips and tricks you found within the game that will help you navigate and also complete tasks more efficiently. As usual, the tips offered in this guide are based off of my experience, my opinion, and also the opinion of others that I communicate with in the Epic Heroes Discord community. By no means am I saying that these are the only tips or that these tips are going to be useful for everyone. Please use this information responsibly and apply it to your gameplay if it fits. Thank you. The first tip we'll discuss has to deal with the slot machine. Each day, many of us log in and have to do over 40 to 50 pulls in order to complete that task. For some of us that are VIP 5 and above, we can increase the amount of energy the slot machine consumes up to 3 times. But for those that are not VIP 5, you can only do this one pull at a time. The tip here to bypass the need for having VIP 5, or even if you are VIP 5, is to activate the auto spin on the slot machine, and then when the machine starts to spin, click on the spaceship icon in the bottom right hand corner. This will cause you to go to the spaceship screen. When you go back to the slot machine screen, it will already have completed the roll, and you will receive any resources that you won from your pulls. You can test this theory by looking at all your resources before doing this strategy, and you will see that you do not lose out on any bonuses when you use this technique. In fact, when you hit the triple spaceship reward, when you go back to the slot machine, you will see the prompt to choose one of 3 people in order to target. This tip has greatly increased my efficiency at clearing the homeworld event, and really has been a time saver altogether when playing on multiple accounts. I highly suggest you look into using this tip if you are someone who enjoys efficiently moving through any kind of daily activities. The next tip we'll discuss has to do with Union Tech. In Union Tech, in the first field, you will spend Union Coin in order to raise the stats of a specific class. By raising a class to level 200, you will then unlock the Union Institute. Inside the Union Institute, you will be able to further buff the class with other traits, like dealing additional damage to another class. The tip here is to consider the classes that make up your current draft. This is an important consideration because the common philosophy behind Union Tech is to start with one class, level it to 200, then move on to the next. But the issue that can arise with using this strategy is having unused stats being allocated when no one of that class is on your present team. Take for example a common free-to-play comp. General Rescue, Thinker, Blaze Centaur, Toko, Afra, and Sally. While the only thing missing from this draft is a mage class, it would not be my recommendation to level each one of these classes to level 200 before prioritizing the clearly stacked class of warrior. In fact, in this situation, I would be more inclined at leaning into warrior class pretty heavily, and then followed that up by leaning into the raider class, as Toko would be my main source of DPS. I will wrap this tip up by saying, by no means am I saying if you have used the latter strategy for progressing through the game are you doing anything wrong. By focusing on classes that dominate my draft, I have increased my ability to bypass harder levels and bosses, which leads me to believe this strategy is better for those who have one particular class dominating their draft. The next set of tips have to deal with the arena. As many of you know, the arena can be an intimidating place, especially if you are not the whale or the strongest person on your server. While the tip I'm about to give is targeted towards anyone who's consistently finishing second or third, I still believe that many of you in the lower rankings can benefit as well by potentially pushing yourself into the next rating tier to receive a higher set of rewards for the season. In order to use this tip efficiently, the player is going to be required to use the end of season timer in order to make their final push. A player that is ranked higher than you is less likely to be able to challenge you when they go to the battle screen. However, if you are a player underneath the top player, it is more likely that you will be able to challenge this player. So the strategy involves taking the opportunity to push for first place at the last possible second in the season so that you secure first place and the first place person doesn't have the opportunity to respond. While this strategy has worked for me multiple times in the past, it does have its limitations. For example, depending on what league you're in, you have to be able to defeat your opponent's lineup. For example, If you're in the Dominator League, you have 3 different teams. So one way to accomplish this is by fighting your opponent to see if your current draft can defeat their current defense. If the answer is yes, you keep your draft the same and you wait for the last possible second to strike. If the answer is no, you study their draft and make the adjustments necessary to achieve victory. This might take you a couple of attempts, and that's okay. Once you figured out how to beat their defense, you can then begin to wait for the final countdown and push for first place. Counter tip. If you happen to be the first place person, the defense against this is to attempt to adjust your defense at the last minute, especially if you see evidence that the person is attempting to figure out how to beat your defense. By the way, evidence of a final push can be found under the records tab right next to defense. Hopefully by the time you make your adjustments and they make their adjustments, it'll be a futile attempt. The next arena tip is way less conniving. It's simply to register for the highest group in Legend Championship that you can compete in. The reason for doing so is so that you can complete the quests that are found in that group. These quests will give you resources for the shop that will allow you to buy one champion of the highest quality from that group. So that means it's always valuable to at least do the league once, even if you are going to get crushed by the competition. However, keep in mind that if you aren't very strong, you will have to spend a few more diamonds to complete the final quest, which does require you to win a certain amount of matches. The last tip we'll cover has to do with the Union War. Unfortunately, the Union War seems to be bugged to where each player in a Union isn't always guaranteed to complete 6 battles. This in turn means that you will also not receive the progress reward for completing 6 battles, which gives you 20 excellent hero pieces and 100 diamonds. Now, for the pay-to-play players, that might not seem like a lot, but for free-to-play players, it adds up. The solution I found to remedy this problem does involve a little bit of try-hard activity, and that is by setting an alarm for the respawn timer of one of the enemy units and coming back at that time to do the battle. This will ensure that you get to the fight first and are one of the people who do get to complete the quest. And that concludes our tips and tricks video. I hope you found some of the information in this video useful. And as always, I appreciate you for tuning in to Epic Heroes University. And please remember that the suggestions made in this video are based off of my opinion and experience in playing the game. I am by no means saying that this is the only way to play the game, and I welcome the input of others for our next tips and tricks video. This is Professor Faded signing out. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you are enjoying this kind of content. Good night.